Showtime!
It's about that time.
Let's go!
You're right where you need to be. This is GCOM Radio.
Hardest radio station on the planet. Yeah!
Powered by Lyfeblood.com.
We certified.
And hosted by Nova Phoenix.
Give them that flavor.
Hey man, what is the deal? What is the deal? What is the deal? Oh man, I'm feeling magical this week. What is going on, everyone? Shout out to everyone that's tuning in to this right now. Oh, I'm doing this extra early and on my usual days because I just got so much to do, so much things that are going on, and I just can't fit it in. So I stuck this show in a little bit earlier than I usually do, and I'm gonna wrap it up real quick. I'm not going to be too long like before. Let's see if I can do it in 45 minutes and I'll shoot it out there. So let's just get on with the show. Hopefully everybody had a productive week, I have to say. I'm communicating to you guys. Hopefully everybody had a productive and progressive week of all the good and the bad that's going on, because they're both lessons that you must learn. I'm looking at my phone right now. Every time this thing lights up, I think I'm getting a message. Hopefully everybody had a productive week for the good and bad, because they're both good lessons to learn from. So anyway, let's get this show on the road. My name is Nova Phoenix. I'm your host on GCOM Radio on iHeartRadio, and we are gonna get this show rocking and rolling. And let's see what I've come up for the week. First one up on the list. Yo, listen. I know this is usually not a conversation that I have as a man, but it was interesting to see. It's interesting to see. I saw this. I was scrolling through social media, and I saw the push-up bra. The push-up bra. And they're saying in this in his promo, it's been 80 years since the first design of the bra. And they created this new bra. It's called the new bra, push-up bra. So I kind of like did a quick little YouTube thing just to see any reviews on push-up bras. And there are a few out there. And it's interesting to know that there are new designs is coming up for bras. And this is all out for the ladies out there, and you're probably saying, Nova, why are we talking about bras as the first topic of the show? Because it's just something that when I'm seeing this ad, I'm like, wait a second, interesting. There hasn't been a new bra design since it's been invented back in the 80s. And they have this new push-up bra. One is like a sticky on, and another one is a wireframe that kind of gives cleavage and all that in the little reviews that I saw. And I wonder why there hasn't been like a redesign of the bra other than what I've seen, like, promotions in the past. Because, I hear a lot of women complain that the bra is tight, the wireframe in it like cuts into the skin, and then it sweats. All the stuff that I don't usually deal with as a man. But the reason why I'm talking about it, because Lyfeblood and GCOM Radio is about innovation, is about cutting edge new inventions and things like that. And I'm wondering if there are any women out there, that's using a new design when it comes to bras other than the typical ones that you see. And what came to mind when I saw this ad, because I was out and I passed by Victoria's Secret, and of course they had the model, the mannequins out there with the lace, what do you call it, lingerie with the lace lingerie, and you know what I mean. I saw that in the entrance of the store, and I'm like, yo, how come women don't, how come it hasn't been reinvented, not by men but by women? You know what I mean? So I've always been interested if there were any women out there that's wearing new type of bras, and if they're marketing it or promoting it to each other, just like, whatever. So, I find it interesting. And then the other thing is, it's interesting me thinking about this subject matter. I'm like, what were bras originally made for? Because I believe the first inventor of the bra was a man, to give it little, what do you call it? Push up, as they say. A little bit more cleavage is another description of it. to be more up instead of, because women come in a variety of different ways when it comes to their breasts. You know what I mean? So it's interesting that the subject when it comes to bras why it was used initially or why it was invented initially was men. So women wear bras. I mean, is it practical? I'm just asking here. Bras practical as far as the usage? Because, if I understand correctly, because I looked at the history of the bra some time ago, and I believe it was because they wanted a little bit more push-up. And why do women want cleavage? Why do women want their breasts pushed up? They're not doing it because of the men. I mean, because of the women. They're not doing it because of their friend or their co-worker. It's because of men. Because men want to have breasts that are supple and round and perky. Because that's what we want to see every day. We don't want to see no lazy, droopy down, no breasts, one lopsided, the other one long. We don't want to see that. Breasts are there for men only, to be ogled at, to be, stared and admired and put up on a pedestal, because and bras assist in that in men's desire. A long time ago, many moons ago, and still in right now today, there are African tribes where there's African women don't wear bras. It's just their breasts are out. It's there on display, and it's treated differently in African tribes. Breasts are not something that's sexualized objects. It's more that, okay, this is who we are as women. And we have it out, and what's so, why do we have to cover ourselves up? And what's this thing about bra? There's no concept, there's no idea of bras. It's just who you are in your gender, and whether you have how should I say, round, perky breasts, or you have breasts that are a little low, that hang a little bit. It's not something they think about. It's just, it's there. You know what I mean? And it's there for babies to breastfeed and all that. It's not hypersexualized as it is in Western countries, in Western society. So it may be a little off-putting and maybe a little weird, and as just something that is a culture clash, as they say. If there are any Westerners that go to certain regions in Africa, more of course a rural area, and they see this tribe and the women are not wearing, it's like, oh wait, it throws women and men off. Because again, the concept is different when it comes to how the gender roles are portrayed and presented in these areas. You know what I mean? It's not something to be ashamed of, to cover up. A lot of women breastfeed, and they always throw the breastfeeding blanket over the child's head, because it's something that, oh my God. Well, and it's wild that people do that. When you see a woman breastfeeding their child out there in the city, and they do it open, because it shouldn't be something you should be ashamed of. And there's always someone passing by is going to say, oh my God, why don't you cover that up? That's just so unbecoming of what a woman. And it's like, this is just this revolting, this look that they give breastfeeding women. I'm like, wait a second. You could have breasts flashed on the big screen on television. They're wearing lingerie and, see-through, all that stuff. What is it called? I forgot to see-through the material, the sheer material. And that's okay. And you see nipples through the sheer material, and that's fine. That's okay. That's normal. That's for men and women. But as soon as a woman breastfeeds, it's like, oh my God, put those away. How could you? Have you no morals? Have you no morals? So it's like, it's wild how in this Western society, how we flip the idea of breasts and what's amoral or what's immoral, when it comes to how women presents herself with something that she's been born with. If something is just for breastfeeding, yeah, it is, of course, for, when you doing the do is all the things, but usually why is it treated as such like it's like a major sin or something like that? So it's crazy that I'm talking about the bra and new designs, but at the same time actually trying to challenge the initial creation of the bra. Now, I ain't saying people to be, everybody throw their bras up in the air in the major cities across America, but it's just something that's a conversation to think about, the original reasons for the bra. And please correct me if I'm wrong as far as the original reason for the invention of the bra. Maybe I read it wrong, but from what I read, this is why the bra was created, because man, it's funny, right? Anyway, the other thing is Cardi B, man. I saw something on Cardi B. They were talking about her hair, and someone tweeted or something like that, saying, they had a problem with Cardi B, saying she's mixed, and why she shouldn't have straight hair, and she's got to be able to handle her hair, and whatever the comment was. And Cardi B responded saying she's had her hair in a lot of different ways when she was young, and she, of course, when you're young, you don't know how to handle your hair. And it took time and years to figure it out. The right conditioner, the right shampoo, the right, mixtures, whatever they sell in beauty supply stores, on how to correctly manage your hair. Now, they said, if I'm also correct, they said that, technically Cardi is mixed and she should have her hair, why is her hair in a certain way? I'm like, wait a second. Let's not confuse this here, all right? Cardi B, you could say she's technically mixed, I guess, based on ethnicity, but she's all black. Cardi B is all black. Let's keep it 100. Let's not mix this up here. Let's keep it 100. Cardi B is 100% black. Cardi B's father is Dominican Republic. We all know what the Dominican Republic is. And her other parent, her mother, is Trinidadian. Her mother is Trinidadian, black Trinidadian. All right? And Trinidadians are majority black. Some are East Indian. Some could be indigenous. But we all know Trinis are majority black, like 85, 95%, 80, whatever. And I could be wrong with the percentage, but majority black. Because let me tell you something. I live in New York. I live in the Caribbean community. I grew up in there. I know Bajans, Trini, Jamaican, St. Lucian, Dominica, not Dominican Republic, Dominica, like all the islands in the Caribbean that all found their way up here. They're all black. The only people that could be mixed is Trini, some Guyanese. You have what you call, and this is a kind of a, don't call smooth hair or long haired Trinis coolie, because you call them coolie up here, but from what I hear, you go to Trinidad, you call straight hair, just Trinidadian, their hair coolie. That's an insult to Trinidadians down in Trinidad. So up here we say coolie if you had that wavy hair, that slick wavy hair. We say all them coolie Trinis and blah 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 blah, right? But a lot of Trinis are black, straight black, and some of their background is East Indian. That's why you have a lot of Trinis with Sing. There was a group of East Indians that came down in Trinidad for whatever reason. You go look it up, and the people intermix. Of course, the black, African ones, the indigenous, and East Indians. That's why you have some coolie Trinis. But of course, we consider them all black, right? There's no mistake about that. And we can tell the difference between some that are East Indian Trini, you could just tell, and then the ones that are mixed and the ones that straight, but all the while we just bunch them. Okay, you black, right? So her mother is Trinidadian and her father is Dominican. We know Dominicans are black. We know based on when I understood, even before I understood knew what a Dominican was. I knew Puerto Ricans. When I was young, in New York, it's Puerto Rican, blah, blah, Mexican, okay, Honduras, blah, blah, blah. Okay, what's the other places? Venezuela, all right, cool, I understand that. But when I saw a dark-skinned person speaking Spanish, other than me, I'm from Panama, right? I'm like, where you from? Oh, from the Dominican Republic. When I was much younger, I did not know who, what, where was a Dominican. Only one that was kind of mixed, that was kind of black, some of them a little darker skin, light skin, was Puerto Ricans. That's all I knew, right? But then I bumped into the first Dominican from the Dominican Republic. I'm like, what? I had to straight up look it up. And yeah, as we all know, Dominicans are on the island that's split between Haitians and, of course, the Spanish-speaking people of the Dominican Republic. Oh, we all know the history. It was originally called Hispaniola, and it was a fight, of course, across land between the Spanish and the French. And, of course, fast forward, we know how it goes. The land was split. Haitians on one side, of course. The black ones speaking Creole, a mixture of African and French and all that. And then we have the Spanish side, which is the Dominican Republic. So a lot of the lines, this small island is separated by one line. And a lot of the people jump the line, all right? The borders, they intermingle, they intermix. You have dark skin of Haitians. And it just overall, you have dark skinned Africans that eventually became Dominicans because of the Spanish that eventually left, right? So overall, the Dominicans are black, okay? They could be mixed with a little bit of white, indigenous people, but overall, a good portion of people from the Dominican Republic are black. So you take a Trinidadian and you take a Dominican and they married together, they had kids, guess what you're gonna get? Someone black. Now, okay, this has nothing to do with the fact that a lot of Dominican people that I know from the Dominican Republic are kind of like, a lot of them self-hating, not all of them, because there was a big job done on Dominican people back in the Dominican Republic, especially with that dude Trujillo, all right, where he was a self-hating black Dominican and he damn near was trying to wipe out all the dark-skinned Dominicans down there through their, what was it called, from purifying, quote unquote, the race, by him trying to bring in a lot of the Spanish or white Spanish folks to intermingle, to kind of bleed out the blackness, but that didn't work. And all my Dominicans, this one Dominican that I knew, he was like, no, Trujillo was a hero, la, 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 la. My father worked for Trujillo. Nah, bro, when you read them Trujillo, yo, white supremacy did a huge job, did a bang-up job on the Dominican Republic. That's why, unfortunately, you have a lot of, there was a time where there was Haitians coming in that lived in the Dominican Republic trying to search for work, and there was a revolt against the Haitians coming over in the Dominican Republic. It was sad. A lot of them got there was a lot of violence towards the Haitians. They got pushed back over into Haiti. But you know, to see it when you have an open eye and to see, damn man, that's a lot of self-hate. The only thing that's separating Dominican Republic and Haiti is a borderline. And you're the same people. I know of a light skin, you could say, you would think that, okay, she's the typical, prototypical idea of what we see as a Latino. She looked like J-Lo in a sense, right? And that's a problem. And the media plays a big part of it, trying to think or the conditioning the masses that Latino people would look like Ricky Martin or J-Lo. But anyway, she looked like J-Lo, but she was Haitian. Wow, that's crazy. So you understand that people migrate back and forth over the borderline for whatever reason. So when people have this conversation about Cardi B and, oh my gosh, she's mixed what? Mixed with what? The only mixed thing is the ethnicity, and it's a fine line. That line is so thin and so narrow. She's pretty much a person of African descent that came from the land of Trinidadian, the people, and the Dominican Republic, and that's a finger snap away in terms of history going back. You go back 100 years, we're still there. It's not that far. We're not that far away from the past that we all understand as the remnants of the transatlantic slave trade. We get it, right? So when people have these conversations about Cardi B and they listen to her accent as if, oh, but she's like, it kind of like blurs it even more. It confuses the conversation even more. Like, yeah, because she was born in Washington Heights. She moved to the Bronx. Of course, she's going to be around the Latino community. And she saw her grandmother every time she went back to Washington Heights. So she was going back and forth between the Bronx and the Washington Heights. Okay, all right. And she came up in New York, where there's a huge population of the melanated people, people of African descent right here in this region. So, it's funny that we hear this conversation from people that are just as confused in terms of when we're talking about ethnicity, when we're talking about culture, when we're talking about how people look to others based on how media presents a group of people. And we can mix that up. So, this conversation about Cardi B and her hair and everything, I'm like, yo, Cardi B is black. Come on, let's keep it real. All right. And there's a lot of Dominicans that come over here. It was a joke that was ran by, what's my man comedian name? Oh my God, I forgot his name. And when he was on DJ Vlad's show, he was talking about how, a lot of Latinos are screwed up and they always be like, I ain't no black. And they dog like Big Papi. And I ain't no black. No Papi, I ain't no black. And he dances. What's my man name? Oh my God. It's funny. Comedian. Oh man, I can't remember my man name. Godfrey. Godfrey Godfrey is a funny dude, and he was on DJ Vlad, and he was just explaining how, the confusion of black Latinos, and because of white supremacy and how it's a wash in a lot of the Latino countries, how they fight against their blackness, and they as dark as him, and they fighting against, I know black, Bobby, no. I know black. It's sad because when you're seeing it from the other side, from the outside looking in, and you're blessed with some sort a degree of understanding history and knowledge, and you see this moving the way it moves, it's like, it's a little bit, it's sad. It's like, oh man, it's just really sad. There's no other way to explain it. As a black person in America, black American, or you come from the Caribbean, and from the Caribbean, everybody in the Caribbean from the black countries know they're black, and so you see a Latin country, a Latino country, smack dab in the middle of the Caribbean, a small group of people is saying they're not black, and it's like, what? Police certainly don't call you Dominican. They just knock you over the head because you close to black. So what are you running from? So yeah, racism has run a good game on not just people here, but people in the Caribbean, and it just goes to show that we have a long way to go on dealing with our own isms that we have allowed ourselves to be conditioned by. And it's important to spread the information. If it's important to spread the information to Afro Latinos, however folks want to call them. I'm mixed up myself. I'm from Panama. My family's from Panama. But I don't know Spanish. All my family knows Spanish, of course, those that are still there. And I have conversations that I can't have, and I just don't know the language. I ask my mother, she gives me a crazy answer. But, I was just the first generation here that just didn't learn the language. All the first generations of my family, they don't know Spanish. And that's just what it is. A lot of people come here. There's some Puerto Ricans too that don't know their own Spanish, and it's rare that you find that here. I mostly the Puerto Ricans that I know, they're bilingual. But me, I that's not how I came up. I just came up. I was born here in New York, and I came up as such. Understanding how African Americans experience it here in this country. So that's how I see myself. And my family's all over the place. I mean, all over the Caribbean. I'm Jamaican. I'm Trini. I think a little bit of Venezuelan and oh my God. What else? I can't even remember what else. Oh, good mixture. And it makes me think as a person, okay, so who am I? All right, so I understand my grandfather went over to build the Panama Canal and ended up staying there. And that's how a lot of the Black Caribbeans ended up in Panama. I know Venezuela. I got some other family in Venezuela, I believe. No, I got to check with my mother on that one. But one of the Spanish-speaking countries. And then I'd find out that my pops side is a little Trini. So I mean, I'm just a person that's just from a lot of different regions that migrated, whether because of money or for whatever reason, ended up in different places in the Caribbean. And now here my story continues in America as being born here, right here in New York. So it's like then I have to ask the question. So then who am I? You know what I mean? So I think a lot of Black Americans, regardless if you're born, if your lineage comes from the Caribbean or if you're a generational Black American, a lot of these questions come up when you go back in your family tree, and you have to ask yourself these questions. And I think that's one of the main driving questions that African Americans go through in this country, trying to find their own self-identity, trying to where do we fit ourselves into? And I think that's one of the main missions of what African Americans try to do here. I think some bark up a wrong tree, but that's our mission. So yeah, man, leave Cardi alone, man. Everybody should know this conversation already. All right, next thing, Astroworld, and I know I spoke about Astroworld a little bit ago, and it just it comes up when I'm doing my searches online or I'm reading articles, and it's funny. It's talking about that they oversold tickets to that particular venue, and then doing a little bit more research. They're saying, and I said before, there's no limitation when it comes to the amount of people that could be in outdoor venues. And the chatter was going around saying that they oversold, but that's not the case. And also the online chatter is saying that my guy Travis Scott is possible manslaughter charges. I'm like, huh? Possible manslaughter charges? I mean, I said it before in the last show where unfortunately, this is a common thing when it comes to outdoor concerts, and we're dealing with a massive amount of people corralling or standing in one small space. That in the snap of a finger, things could go awry, and unfortunately, this is what happened at his venue. So there's going to be a lot, and the conversation is being had that online that Travis Scott, his name is tossed into this a lot, and I'm not saying this to protect Travis Scott in any way, but my background has been in I dabbled in of course doing shows, and I've been a part of a couple of different shows, backstage, putting on shows together for myself, for other people. And when it comes to artist performances, artists are really not that involved in the operations of putting on a show. Now, of course, you're gonna be like, "Oh, what are you talking about, Nova?" I mean, they're the man. Yeah. But they're the talent. They do the show. They're there to put on a show for their fans. But really, when it comes to the operations of an event, when we're dealing with ticket sales, we're dealing with security, we're dealing with the health and safety protocols of whatever venue or whatever event that's happening, looking out for the fans, for the people that's buying tickets. That's really not directly tied to the talent. I mean, they could be there for the conversation, sitting down, and when it comes to doing an indoor event, or if you're doing an outdoor event, they can be part of the conversation. But ultimately, all of these topics is tied directly to the promoter, to the one that's really putting on overall the event, like setting it up, whether it's the whatever, if it's pyrotechnics involved, how the layout of the event is going to be, and as I said before, security, who's selling tickets, how many tickets are being sold, yada yada yada, things of that nature. That's more the promoter of the event, because they have to make sure all these things are in line the day of the event. that they have the right security crew, that the whatever the theme of the show is being done right, and you have the production crew there putting it together. When it comes to the health and safety, okay, what are the entry and exit points? Where do we put the bathrooms? If there's food involved, what marketing material we're gonna give out, things of that. The minutia of how to put together a show. Again, that's the promoter. I mean, so I don't understand. I get it in terms of, all these people died, which is unfortunate. That's first and foremost. It's terrible that all these people did lose their lives, and they're going to throw Travis Scott in there because he is the headliner of these events. So I understand in that sense when it comes to lawsuits, but really, again, ultimately, at the end of the day, it's with the promoter. And you see the behind the scenes footage of a lot of different artists that's getting ready to put their show together, and they're in their regular clothes along with the choreographers, and they're there. But the main job of the talent is to put together a solid show. That's what the talent is there for. The talent is not, ultimately, it's not, they're not there to choreograph, know where they're stepping, dealing with the band, and then they have to be like, they have to put down that pad and pencil, and they have to pick up the other pad. Okay, how we get? No. Not unless they are the promoter and they're putting out their own money for it. That would make sense. I understand that. And of course, when it comes to that, they're going to have a co-founder or a partner or something that's going to do that, because again, they're the talent. They have to make sure they put together a solid show with their music and with everything else that's involved. So when they're talking about that, this just sounds like the news are trying to use Travis Scott as some sort of sacrificial lamb and putting him on the chopping block. I think, of course, I understand that there has to be some accountability for everyone that's there, but really at the end of the day, from my experience, again, at the end of the day, it's the promoter, man. The people that's putting on and that are dealing with all the different parts of putting on a good show, and that's them, man. Because the artists, they're not worried about that. They're focused on the music. You know what I mean? So my condolences again. I have to I was listening to some video this morning on a father that brought his 8, 9, 10-year-old or whatever single digit age kid to the show, and I'm like, I don't understand why you would bring a single digit age kid to a Travis Scott show. He's gonna be cursing. He's grown man music. This is not like Disney. This is not like that. You know what I mean? Or Mickey Mouse. So why are you bringing? I don't know. I don't understand why he brought his kid there, but it's unfortunate that his son got hurt because he passed out from lack of oxygen from the rush crowd of people, and his son got caught in the stampede. So condolences. He's still alive. He's still in the hospital. But for all those that did lose family members there, my condolences. My heart goes out to all of you. This is not what you expect by going to a show. And to hear this and you're getting a phone call that this happened, it's terrible, because if it was my family member, I would be destroyed. So yeah, this is just the beginning, and I'm sure we got to allow and let people do the investigation and kind of sift through all of this noise that the media does give, and just to find out, who's involved and who's, responsible for all this. So lighten it up. So Disney had a special. We got a lot of shows that's coming out right now. We got Spider-Man that's coming soon. I'm looking forward to see that. There's a lot of leaking. I'm trying to stay away from it. If I see, of course, how can you avoid it? I'm on, Twitter and all that, and IG when I'm spinning through it. But yeah, if I see anything related, I literally turn my eyes off, and I pull my eyes away from whatever the content that I'm reading. I'm like, because I don't want any spoilers, man. This looks like it's going to be a really good Spider-Man movie. And I'm looking forward to the other Disney movies that are coming out, like She-Hulk. I never read the comic of She-Hulk, but I understand the character. So I'd rather watch it on TV than actually reading the comic. So I'm interested in watching She-Hulk, Agatha House of Harkness. That's going to be dope. the actress certainly did and put her stamp on it, and for her to get her own spin-off show. Really interested to get in the backstory of Agatha. Moon Knight is another dope one, man. This guy's doing a lot of work, man. What's his name again? Moon Knight. This guy's doing everything. He's a Dune actor. What's this guy's name? Oscar Isaac, man. Oscar Isaac, fantastic actor, man. He does his thing. He's really talented, man. So I give it up to him. He's getting a lot of work. Shout out to, maybe you should, your agent, you should pass it off to Idris. Yo, Idris, holla at Oscar Isaac. You see if you can get his agent, because I'm saying though, because this dude I'm seeing everywhere. He's getting all the work. And for big roles too, man. I'm seeing him everywhere. Yeah, man, because I love Idris. I don't care what anybody says. I think Idris is a stand-up dude. I think he has the great acting chops. He just needs to get the right script, the right agent to get him those roles, man. My man, should have catch Idris after The Wire. You know, why you gotta wait till when he's got the grays in his beard, you know. I'll just say, I'm not knocking Idris at his age, you know, I'm not saying that, but you know, you got cast people when they in their prime, when they could do those big action movies and, you know, their knees is young. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, they could take a bruising. But now it just gets to the point, it's like, hey, wait a second. You mean I have to jump from there to there? Get my body double there. Get him in there. You know what I mean? Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that Moon Knight. I'm also on the Star Wars side of Disney, man. I'm looking forward to Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Book of Boba. That's super dope. It's messed up that, you know, the Mandalorian's going through some issues. So that's why the Book of Boba is kind of like taking over until they can figure out everything that's going on with that actor, the Mandalorian. I don't remember names as much. I do remember names. I just it takes me a couple times to get these actors' names, man. Yeah, Pedro Pascal. He's another dope actor, man. Very talented dude, man. But it's sad that to find out that he's going through all these issues and what's going on over there at Disney, all based on him trying to get his face seen. Because, you know, he's a man. He's Mando. He's got to wear that damn helmet all the time. But, you know, he's got he's got the Book of Boba and taking over. Hopefully they can work out whatever issues they got going on over there. So, yeah, let's see what's going on. So, as far as Star Wars, man, I think what's happening right now is fantastic. And it's something that should have been done way before. I think Disney has lost. I mean, look, Disney's already up on it. They made the mistake. I don't want to beat over a dead horse, but when you buy a property like Star Wars, you want to make sure that you do it right, because there are a lot of fans, and this is cinematic canon when it comes to the characters and staying true to the characters in the Star Wars story. You cannot betray. This is like the Bible to a lot of people. Okay, people, when I saw when they did the Mandalorian and they revealed Skywalker at the end of the last season, and to see the reveal videos, people are invested in the Star Wars world. They were literally crying. If anybody missed it, just go back to YouTube and put Luke Skywalker review videos of the Mandalorian. You're gonna see all types. Man, I didn't cry, but you know, it got me to the center, because I was like, yo, this is how it should have been done. But there was not a dry eye in a lot of videos that was seen when they did that Luke Skywalker reveal, man. But Star Wars did lose the opportunity in the last trilogy to really do Star Wars world building in the story, man. It was, I think it's a great example of how companies can get a hold of property and the business side kind of takes over and they lose it. And they're like, man, we spent a whole lot of money. We got to make sure we make this money. And it turns more into, it removes the soul and the spirit of Star Wars that's in the hearts of so many people across the world, not just in America, but the way they did it typically it's always how it's done when corporations take over, you know, properties that people love, these storylines that they fell in love with so long ago when they were children, is They treat it like an inanimate object and sell, don't care. We don't care. It's a big property. We're gonna just splash it everywhere. People don't like it. It's a shoe-in. No, you can't do that. You have to put your heart into these stories, man, because that's how it was originally created and how it continued through the decades, especially with George Lucas. You have to sit down with George Lucas and say, okay, we bought this property for a lot of money, but we want to make sure that this is done right. And, keeping in mind that George Lucas, of course, is going to hold on to it tight because it is his baby. But there's so much material that's out there that you could have borrowed from. There are books, tons of books that's out there, the comics, everything that you could have gotten inspiration from to carry over the last trilogy. And the way it was treated in that Skywalker, oh my God, it was just terrible. They said they wanted to expand the Star Wars story to include more than Skywalker. And I get that. But you could have appropriately closed the Star Wars story involving Skywalker and still had some world building introductions of different characters that would have carried on Star Wars for the new generations of the people that are young today, instead of as opposed to the youth of the 70s. Hold on a second, excuse me, trying to fix my chair here. So it could have been, and there's so many storylines that could have been built upon. It could have been the Skywalker story after the explosion of the Death Star. There was went from when he just turned Jedi to the point where he started the Jedi school, and everybody knows the story how what's his name, Leia's son turned on him. What's his Leia's? Ken? What's goddamn Leia's son? Leia Skywalker's son. What's that guy's name? Goddamn. I'm sorry. Ben Solo. Okay, so Han's son. But anyway. So yeah, there was so much years that went by between when Skywalker first turned Jedi and then to the point where Ben Solo turned on him. What happened there? You could have done Obi-Wan Kenobi story, which is being done now. I get it. It's being done now, but it's so late. You could did the Jedi Sith story. You could done a story with Lando Calrissian. Oh my God! It's so much story to the world of Star Wars in the Lando Calrissian world. You could have done it how he ran and took control of Cloud City and what happened afterwards. There's so much material there and then in different ways you could have threw in Han Solo into the Lando stories, where you can still have a connection to the main characters of Han Solo and Skywalker and Leia and all that, but then you still have Lando Calrissian living out his life as a bounty hunter or whatever he was. There was so much. The Mandalorians, which is being done now. Okay, granted. General Grievous, that would have been dope. How did he get all those Jedi lightsabers when you saw him in the previous trilogy? Where did he get the car from? You could have done a dope story. Now they did do that with General Grievous. Did they do backstory? No, they didn't. Actually, it was Darth Maul. That's another character. I don't know why they killed him all so quick. In the trilogy with Qui-Gon Jinn and young what's his name, Obi-Wan. They just cut him in half and he went down the shaft. I'm like, why? He was super dope. Why they kill him so quick? Movies got a thing where they introduce such dope characters and they be like, all right, knock him off. I'm like, what? Darth Maul. And Darth Maul, they did bring him back. I think he was in the Star Wars Clone Wars, the cartoon. Or Rebels, one of them, and they did a dope backstory of Darth Maul, man, and he had the robot spider legs because he was cut in half. So it was so much material, man. I understand why Star Wars was treated in such a way in the last trilogy. It was and not knocking any of the actors. The actors did their job. They showed up. They did their thing. But it was again more of the Suits thing, man. It's the same thing that's happening with the DC world and Superman and Batman and all the stories on the DC. Is like, it's the Suits. Could be a little bit of the actors, could be a little ego, possible. But at the end of the day, the direction of where the story is going to go ultimately is the studio's responsibility. Marvel's doing a bang up job, and then all DC constantly has to chase Marvel. But no. DC has to do they have to carve out their own space with the fans that they already have, because it's DC. But yeah, that's another property that got ruined, and it's from the Suits, man. So, Disney messed up, which they course corrected. They course corrected with The Mandalorian and all that. And DC, Warner Brothers, have to do that, which I think currently is also in a changeover from the mergers that are happening. And, there's going to be definitely executives that's going to lose their chairs, and there's going to be a little rearranging there. So, yeah, man, that's crazy. Yo, speaking of movies, man, there's another movie that's coming out that I found. Another Predator movie is coming out. Another Predator movie is coming out. I'm like, really? Do we need another goddamn Predator movie? Yo, another Predator movie is dropping, and this time is going to be a prequel. Let me see if I can find this damn thing. The Predator. Here you go. So, that's not it. So what's happening is it's going to be a prequel, and it's going to be based on a warrior. Let me see if I can find it in these notes. Okay, so Naru is a woman warrior from the Comanche tribe, and she goes out. I guess she bumps into a single predator, and we go again. And I'm like, it's going to be on Hulu this time. Okay, maybe that's great, because a lot of the Predator movies that came out in the past, maybe they should have went straight to Hulu or some movie streaming site. Because I'm like, Predator, first Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger was hot. Yo, with the introduction, it was hot. Oh my God, off the chain, right? Director was John McTiernan. That was the first one. It came out in '87. And then they came out with Predator Part 2, right? It wasn't as good as the first, but it was more of an urban landscape, and it was with my man Danny Glover. That was hot. In my way, I liked it. It may not have been a box office smash, but I liked it. Predator 2 wasn't as good as the first one, but it stood on its own. I liked it. You know what I mean? But then it was downhill from there. They came out with the Predators. That came out. That was cool. I thought, all right, cool. That's all right. And I think I got tainted from the Predator versus Aliens, because Predator versus Aliens it came out as a comic at first, and everybody thought, and I thought too. Me and my brother was on it hardcore. He was like, "Yo, they should do a movie, Alien versus Predator, join these two worlds, mix these two worlds, right?" And they did it, and it just came out cheesy. It was just corny. It was just so corny. And then they came out, that happened, it really didn't go anywhere. Oh my God, it was so bad. I don't know how. I gotta tell you, man, this property right here, the Predator property and the Aliens, I don't know how it keeps going, man, because every time they come out with some sort of a Predator movie, it does terrible in the box office, but they always convince someone in Hollywood to do another one. There are a lot of movies that don't get made, right? Because they do terribly in the box office. But somehow Predator keeps on getting revived. It has 9 lives, that freaking property. So yeah, they came out with Predator. And Predators came out after the Predator versus Aliens. And somewhere in that mix. And that was cool. All right, cool. It was kind of a play on the first Predator. They brought a bunch of military guys. But kind of what threw me off was these military guys got dropped off on an alien world. So instead of being on Earth, they were on this alien world, and that's how the Predators use this alien world as their hunting backdrop, right? So that was cool. But then the ending, I'm like, wait a second, how they flying this ship? Wait a second, how they flying this joint? If I remember correctly. So yeah, That was all right. And then they came out with The Predator, and that's with Shane Black. Shane Black was the actor that was in the first Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger. So they brought Shane Black to direct, and Shane Black was also in The Predator. And that was, again, that was all right. Didn't do great in the box office. It was all right storyline-wise. I was like, all right, whatever. And now they got this one, Prey, come out in 2022 on Hulu. I don't know. I don't understand how they... Man, this thing got 9 lives, I tell you, boy. Because this is where I believe in the studio exec in the suits to be like, yo, just dead that. Let's wait another 50 years and possibly revive it. But damn. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. You would think... The last Predator that came out in 90, they gave enough time, and you think they were like, yo, let's do a bang-up job on this one. It's just mediocre, man, at best, man. It's mediocre at best. I gotta watch The Predator over again with Shane Black directing. I gotta see that. I gotta take that in a little bit more. I don't know. Terrible. Anyway, remember the last time I was talking about Evergrande? Evergrande was the Chinese real estate company. They were having some financial trouble. And they were being threatened with going into default. This was going to be a problem with a lot of international businesses, even just the Chinese economy. And it turns out that they also got 9 lives. So somehow they keep on reviving themselves. They keep on meeting the date to pay their bonds with Clearstream. That's the international clearing firm that takes care of the transaction. And it looked like they were gonna miss their bond payment date, but they met it. And a lot of people think that they're wondering why this company Evergrande keeps on making it. But a lot of folks on the ground over there in China is saying, and plus the news story is saying that the government, of course, is involved. It's a communist country. And the Chinese government is making sure that Evergrande stays afloat by kind of like nudging the state-owned banks and enterprises, of the various enterprises, to kind of restructure their debt. Instead of, bailing them out, they're talking about it's going to be restructuring their debt, and they're going to keep things going with Evergrande. Of course, it makes sense. They're pretty huge. But this is probably why it's a problem when you have one company. That's one of the big problems. When you have one company doing everything, that's basically propping up the economy of a country, especially if it's a thriving country economically, and there's one company do it, it's terrible. It puts you at a disadvantage, because if anything goes wrong and that one company can't keep afloat, that bottoms out everything. So this is the problem with monopolies, right? I'm not saying Evergrande is a monopoly. They're the primary player in the game. But in the United States, we have problems with monopolies, and this is one of the disadvantages of having one company controlling all. Because when they have problems, it's not good. All right. So they're saying the reason why Evergrande was in this problem, and they're saying they were growing too fast. They got 90 million flats in China that are empty. And it's known that a lot of people that's traveling across China, they see like a block of 10 buildings that are popping up out of nowhere on the countryside. And, that's the way where they keep the economy going in terms of real estate. They just pick random places and they just build these small little cities of 10 buildings. And they're growing too fast, and there's not enough people that's going to get into these units. And they do have major cities that are doing well. And even though China has hundreds of cities across across the region, the major cities are Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, and Guangzhou. But the problem is the buildings are in short supply in those main cities. And the units, the prices is crazy. I don't know if this is in American dollars. I'm thinking it's in American. The prices for a unit in these major cities, in particular Shanghai, is $1 million. $1 million. How is that different from here, from New York or any other major city? Not that much different. $1 million. And in Shenzhen, it's not as expensive, but it's $700,000. It's about the same thing as major cities here in New York. So what they're saying is, where you have super expensive units in the major cities, and then at the same time you have units that's being built out in the just popping up everywhere, just to just keep on building. It's causing an imbalance in how Evergrande is doing its business, and that is one of the issues of what's causing the problem. Let me see something. So one of the main problems, what they're saying is the unique situation that Evergrande got themselves in is in the major cities, the units that they're being sold, they're too pricey of course, in those major cities. And then there's an oversupply in the countryside that you just have empty buildings. And that's what's causing the imbalance when it comes to what's going on with Evergrande and the economy, the Chinese economy. And they're saying that that's why it's going to eventually cool down, where this is going to have to slow down and the economy is not going to be so hot. And then you're just going to have to bring things like the pendulum. It swings one way, eventually the pendulum swings the other way. And then this hot economy that China is going through is going to cool down, and they're going to have to reorganize how they're handling all these properties. Now, on top of this, and now before I get to the next thing that happened in China, what does that sound like? Sound like what's happening in America. Yeah. Properties are going up like crazy in New York. They're super expensive. They call them, some of them are calling them, when they're rentals, they call them luxury rentals. And these high rises that are popping up, who is getting into these units? Because when I look in the paper, when I look online in the paper, I'm like, whatever. When I look on the app, that's properly for 21. Well, I'm looking at the paper. When I look on the app and I'm seeing what these apartments are costing, I'm like, who is moving in here? I'm not even talking about like the working class, the poor class where you work in a McDonald's. I'm talking about the middle class. This is way out of middle class range. Who the hell is moving into these units? They getting people, but I'm like, God damn. New York is literally turning into the ultra rich and the ultra poor. There's no room for the middle class. Because it's just amazing that I found how that they're selling. And I'll never understand. I said this before on the show. I'll never understand why people are buying brownstones for $1 million or more. And then some of these brownstones in the hot markets, especially in Brooklyn, going for above $1 million. And I'm like, if you have the money that you would pay $1 million plus for this brownstone in New York, nothing changed. You're still dealing with rats. You're still dealing with the craziness that's happening all in the city, especially when it's going on in Harlem, right? And then you're not even getting any space to breathe, man. Your neighbors is on top of you. And I'd rather move to somewhere that's more suburban city mix, where I need some backyard, man. I need some front yard space. I need some elbow room, man. Even if it's a townhouse, I need more birds chirping and light and cobblestones and a little bit more like green, where I could breathe the air. Everything is so congested and constricted in Brooklyn and in the city, and that's what they're turning Brooklyn in. They're expanding New York City out into these outer boroughs, and it's like, why? Why would you pay that much money? I don't understand. It's just crazy to me. I'm just, I'm not a total suburban person. I need like a hybrid mix of a city, suburban life. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know if there are ones that exist, but I don't mind tall buildings a certain way, 8, 10 floors. I don't mind that residential, what I'm talking about. But I don't know. It's crazy. It's crazy. And that's what's happening in China, and they're propping up this market over inflated ideas of how business should be conducted. And that's what's going, where they're building all these units and all these buildings. Nobody's getting in them. The prices are too expensive in some parts. Another way, you don't know whether the people have that money where these buildings are popping up in these rural areas of China. Are the people educated? I'm just asking this question. I'm saying, Are the people educated enough to take certain jobs where they can afford the units in these new cluster of buildings that's being built in these rural areas? Because if you're building just to build, it makes no sense. It makes no sense. If you're building just to have your bottom line in the black, it makes no sense, because eventually the floor is going to bottom out, because there's no one to carry over that cost. You're not putting anybody in there to really bring value to your property. I don't know. The other problem is power outages in China. It seems like China is having a problem with power outages. They're saying the Chinese government is seeking out to, or they're being asked to seek out increase in coal imports to supply their power plants. I can't believe China is still on coal. Apparently, they're still on coal. And also, apparently, they got some sort of issues with Australia, because Australia joined a bunch of other countries in the world to figure out the origins of the coronavirus. China doesn't like that, so they have all these tariffs and restrictions on their exports when it comes to coal and including with that beef, barley, wine, and seafood. So now they're in a catch-22 here. They need coal to power their power plants, but where they're getting it from in Australia, they're not getting it because they're trying to teach a lesson to Australia. That's kind of crazy. China is in a conundrum right now. I think their economy is definitely going to slow because, again, you can't build all these buildings and you're not putting them in anybody in them. You know what I mean? And I don't even know why China is still on coal and dealing with power outages. You know, some of the power plants, they're saying they had to cut back on shifts or operations because they don't have enough power to keep the lights on to run the power plants. So that's wild. The other international issue that's going on is I talked about this before a long time ago. Sudan is going through protests right now. Unfortunately, several people were killed because Sudan's Army Chief General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, who led the coup some time ago, at the time, I remember I was talking about where al-Burhan was in cahoots with Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, the feared leader of the paramilitary group Rapid Support Forces, where they took over because the original ruler, the ruler before that, called him Omar al-Bashir, the people did not like him. They kicked him out. So they started this transitional government. And they said at some point, when things cooled down, they were going to transition the transitional government back into civilian hands. Well, look how this turned out. The Army Chief General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan decided not to do it. So he basically dissolved the transitional government and created a new sovereign governing council that doesn't include any of the representative organizations that were of the people, the civilian people, and say, you know what, I'm just going to keep this seat. You what? Yeah, that's craziness. So they went through this whole coup to kick out this guy, Omar al-Bashir, that wasn't no good to the Sudanese people. And now this general is taking over. And several people have died. When it was reported on the news, when they came out to protest, they were blocking roads of people and burning tires. And unfortunately, the response was from the government, the military-controlled government, was to fire upon people, and they ended up killing several of the folks. But the protests are not over. The people are going to continue to fight, and hopefully there is some sort of democracy that can be installed in Sudan. And you're probably thinking, Nova, why are you bringing up Sudan in this talk? Besides the fact I brought it up before. Interesting how we can talk about and we can look down on other third world countries on their little political problems. They just can't figure it out, because they're just, they're primitive people, and they just can't figure out this whole government thing and this democracy thing. And look at them over there. They just, just kicking up dust clouds. But we have no time for that, right? And yet we here in the most powerful, the most richest country in the world, we had our own coup that was happening in this country on that in January 6th. But instead of the military, the people that were incited to come out to D.C. and raid the Congress building. Interesting. How we can have all this American exceptionalism and put America on such a high moral standard when it comes to how we conduct ourselves in government. And we can look at other third world countries and we can look down at them and say, oh, those people just can't figure it out. They just have to come over here and look towards us to be the shining example of what it is to run a government. And here we are. We had a situation with damn near people, right-wing paramilitary militia groups that were hiding amongst other knuckleheads and other people that thought that they had every right to run up in this government federally operated building. And a coup almost happened. A straight up insurrection because people couldn't understand or couldn't go by the rule on now. Gore did it, right? We had all issues with that when he was running against Bush, right? And Bush conceded. He stepped down. Even though there was legitimate reasons with this whole thing with the hanging Chad. And he moved on. But then we had this man, this orange-haired man, small-minded man, that just could not take a beating, that just cannot deal with the fact that he lost and the United States people wanted something different, regardless of what people think about it. That has nothing to do with it. I have a point. And incited an insurrection and pointed the finger, and it almost happened. It was so crazy, this guy almost killed his own VP. Pence was also kind of caught up in that action. So America's got to humble themselves that instead of us looking down at other third world countries going through their own issues, political strife, people dying because they want democracy, we have to look at ourselves and see what we can do to be a better country. And we have to be honest with ourselves and putting certain things aside. And if we want a democracy that we say all the time, we talk about in school, we talk about in grade school, we talk about in high school, we talk about in college and universities, and we have these poli-sci majors, the young, that's going to be the next generation of politicians in government. And we respect our soldiers, veterans ages past, respecting to all those people that gave their lives, that put their lives on the line in the military. Shout out to them, right? We're supposed to respect and show love to our soldiers, but they're disrespected, right? There was this a report that I was seeing. I didn't finish seeing it. It was The Daily Show. What was my man from The Daily Show? Not Trevor Noah. Jon Stewart. So he has his own show now that he doesn't do as frequent as the Daily Show. But he had a little expose on how the military soldiers are treated there. Where the military, right beside the bases, they're burning literal human feces and waste and garbage and dump and all that. Everything, they're piling up and burning it, and all of the smoke, all of the chemicals is being burned off and is in the smoke, is wafting over to the soldiers, and they're getting sick and they can't get proper coverage. So we got to decide how we're going to get rid of the propaganda, all the bullshit talk, everything that's being spoken about that builds this illusion of American exceptionalism and high moral standing. And we got to be honest with ourselves. Because the more we believe in this idea of who we are, this illusion, the more we put America at a disadvantage on what we're doing on the inside and how we're moving on the outside the United States borders. And that's the only way we can progress and do better as a country when we're honest with each other and what we're not doing and how we can reorganize ourselves in the political circles, in business, and try not to be Evergrande, because we were there before. We were there before with the housing market crash. Be realistic how we conduct business. Be realistic on how we want this country to run politically. So then we can move forward and be competitive. Nova, what are you talking about? We're a superpower. Yes. But in terms of that, if we want to use that language, China is right there. And not because it's on bombs and missiles and guns and rifles. Because they're out capitalizing America's business. And also in terms of their technology and their education when it comes to their high-speed bullet trains and their sciences. Everything is how China is outpacing the United States. And if the United States wants to be competitive in those circles, in those arenas, they have to take themselves seriously. They have to humble themselves. They have to see where their shortcomings are, where they're doing things wrong in politics and in business. That's how I see it. Because if Americans starts to tear each other apart over frivolous things, over things that are illusions, then I don't understand how America can stand. So anyway, that's enough of me. Yeah, I'm out of here. Thank you guys for listening. I went over my mark, so my apologies there. I ran at the same time. But anyway, it is what it is. I said my piece. Thank you guys for listening. Hopefully I have some good news for you guys in the next coming weeks. That's why I personally recorded this a little bit earlier than I usually do. And I can present something to you guys soon. As I always said, I'm always working on my thing. I won't say anything until I have things in line here. And hopefully I can get something to you guys pretty soon. So again, thank you for listening. Hopefully this is a conversation that you guys can have with your own peoples, your friends and your family. And Thanksgiving is coming up. So hopefully this is a topic that could be discussed too, wherever you're at. So again, thank you for the third time. I appreciate you guys hanging in there. I'll see you guys next week. All right, peace.
Check it.
You just listened to GCOM Radio, powered by Lyfeblood.com for the global community.
We worldwide, baby.
See you in the next go round. From right here to your town, we out.